The movie kicks off in a war zone in Iraq. We see a group from Al-Qaeda capturing a bunch of American soldiers. This guy, John Triton, is watching the whole thing go down from a distance. His superiors are telling him to wait for backup to arrive before moving in, but John can't just sit there and take it. When he sees the soldiers are about to be executed, he decides to blow off his orders. He storms the place before they can kill the hostages, wipes out the entire enemy team, and saves everyone. The next day, John goes to meet the colonel in his office and finds the colonel handing him his discharge papers because he went rogue. When John tries to explain himself, the colonel thanks him for his service, tells him he's one of the best soldiers he's ever worked with, and then sends him home. John heads back to California, feeling pretty messed up. His wife, Kate, is over the moon because she's just happy he's back home safe after all that time. But as time goes on, John finds it hard to get used to civilian life. He starts working as a security guard just to keep himself busy, and his wife tries to comfort him, saying she'll help him and they'll find a way. The next day, a gang leader named Rome is planning a jewelry store heist. He walks into the shop with his crew, Morgan, Viscera, Bennett, and Angela, who were already inside waiting for him. Rome acts like he's buying diamonds, but then he pulls his pieces and forces everyone to hit the floor. He tries to distract everyone and grabs a lady named Angela as a hostage. But he sees the diamonds are behind bulletproof glass, so Rome forces the owner to open the door or he'll kill Angela. Angela starts begging him not to kill her, saying she's got kids. As soon as the door opens, Rome hands Angela a gun, and we find out they're in on it together. Angela is part of the gang. They bag all the diamonds and bolt. When the owner recognizes Rome, Rome caps him right then and there. While they're making their getaway, the cops show up. This leads to Rome spraying a cop car with a machine gun, and Morgan hits another car and blows it up. They hop in their ride and vanish. Later, the cops suspect one of the store employees is involved because the stolen diamonds had only arrived 24 hours ago. Obviously, that means the robbery wasn't just a coincidence. At the same time, John has started his job as a security guard for a big company. After a while, when nothing exciting happens, he gets bored, especially since his partner Joe spends all his time reading magazines and laughing. Joe tells him he'll get promoted to manager in 2 years if he keeps doing a good job. But John realizes Joe's been a guard for 9 years and hasn't been promoted once. Things change when they get a call about a guy causing trouble on the 12th floor, screaming at his ex-girlfriend and making a scene. John and Joe head up immediately. John can't wait to jump in. He has to grab the guy and drag him away until they get downstairs. When the guy's bodyguards show up, they keep provoking John until a fight breaks out. John wrecks the bodyguards easily, throws the guy through a glass window, and kicks him out. The guy tells John he's going to get him fired and walks off. Unfortunately, John's move gets him canned. It turns out that was his first and last day as a security guard. Later, John and Joe are chilling and talking. John admits that all he knows is the military, and he can't get used to this normal life and a regular job like everyone else. He tells Joe his old job was everything to him. Joe tries to comfort him, reminding him that the only constant in life is change, and that he should appreciate the time with his family and realize this is the life fate has for him. Meanwhile, Rome and Angela head back to their hotel. Angela is worried about what they did at the jewelry store. She says killing all those people put them in even more danger. Rome explains he killed the manager because the guy knew his real name and that the rest of the job went exactly as planned. He reassures her there's no reason to be scared of him and promises he'll never hurt her. Just then, he gets a call from someone asking him to return the stolen diamonds for $6 million. They agree to meet the next day. On the other side, Joe drops John off at home. Before John gets out of the car, he asks Joe to keep what happened at work a secret between them. When John gets home, Kate asks about his day, and he lies and says everything was fine. But a few seconds later, the news comes on TV showing him fighting with the guy. The reporter says there was a violent confrontation between a security guard and a citizen. Kate realizes it's John. When she sees how hard this is for him, she suggests they take a trip to relax their nerves. John hesitates at first, but agrees after Kate talks him into it. The next day, Morgan takes a car from a shop for the gang. The guy suggests a family car, but Morgan decides to take a Cadillac. Next, we see John and Kate starting their trip to the mountains. After driving for a bit, they stop at a gas station to grab some snacks. By pure coincidence, Rome and his gang pull up at the same station. John goes into the shop while Kate waits in the car. As Rome is filling up, a cop car pulls up, which makes the gang super twitchy. But the cop doesn't recognize them and starts talking to Rome, while the rest of the gang watches from inside. While Rome is talking to the cop normally, Morgan gets nervous, sneaks up behind the cop, and shoots him in the head. Rome has no choice but to shoot the second cop. When John hears the gunfire outside, he tries to investigate, but Bennett hits him with a fire extinguisher and knocks him out. Angela shoots the gas station clerk, and then the gang bolts. They decide to take John's car, but when they see Kate inside, they decide to take her as a hostage, just in case the cops try to stop them. As John starts to wake up, he sees Kate being kidnapped. As soon as he gets to his feet, Morgan shoots the gas tank and causes a massive explosion. John survives the fire without a scratch, gets out fast, and sees the criminals driving away. He helps the injured cop in the car, takes the car, calls the other officers for backup, and explains the situation. He starts trailing the criminals and gives the coordinates so the cops can send backup ASAP. Rome notices John is following them and tells the others to open fire. The criminals keep shooting at him, but John's training makes him know exactly how to handle it. Rome tries to box him in with his car and force him off the road, but John doesn't give up and keeps following them without hesitating. The gunfire is terrifying. On the way, John rams Rome and forces him to drive toward the forest. Eventually, Rome drives toward the edge of a cliff, and they shoot at John as he's coming at them, forcing his car to fly off the edge. While the car is midair above them, they keep shooting at it until it explodes in the sky and crashes down. Luckily, John jumps out of the car before it blows up. The criminals arrive and think he's dead. At that point, Kate is screaming hysterically and accusing them of killing her husband. This pisses Angela off, and she points her gun at Kate, but Rome stops her, reminding her that Kate is their ticket out of there. When Morgan starts fighting with Viscera, Rome loses it and tells them to stop. He tells them to think about how they're going to escape instead of fighting. Since their car is trashed, they decide to head through the water to mislead the cops. When Kate talks back to Angela, Angela hits her and knocks her out. Rome mocks her and says, "Why'd you do that, Angela, honey? Now Morgan has to carry her on his shoulder all this way." If you're digging the video, hit that like button. It really means a lot and helps us keep them coming. At that time, Detective Van Buren arrives at the gas station and hears about John's report. Then they tell him about the cliff accident, so he goes there. John comes out and shows him he's still alive and tells him his wife was kidnapped. The detective tells John the case is in the hands of the police now and refuses to let John chase the criminals, warning him how dangerous they are. But John isn't bothered by the threat and is determined to save his wife. When Van Buren hears this, he tells him to hurry up if he wants to save her. John moves out immediately and starts tracking the criminals. On the other side, Rome and his men are walking through the forest. When Kate wakes up, she starts fighting with them again, so Angela hits her again. Bennett grabs Kate and ties her up. By then, Morgan is fed up with all the drama and starts fighting with Viscera about who's to blame. The fight escalates fast, and Rome gets so fed up with their constant bickering that he just shoots Viscera and kills him for no reason. The others are shocked but keep moving. Gators crawl out of the water and start eating Viscera's body. When we get back to John, he's still running and tracking the gang in the woods until he reaches the spot where Viscera was shot, but he doesn't find a body because the gators finished it off. A bit later, Rome gets a call from his boss, who's screaming at him for all the trouble they've caused. Rome insists on keeping the diamonds, saying they did the hard part. His boss threatens him, saying there will be huge consequences. Just then, the sound of a chopper chasing them cuts them off. Rome hangs up and flees with his team. As they're walking, Morgan starts complaining again about how dangerous the situation is. Rome tells him to stop whining. Suddenly, Rome stops and asks for Kate's opinion, but she insults him and tells him he's a sick psycho. He responds by saying she's beautiful, and if it wasn't for Angela, he'd be with her. Meanwhile, John is still looking for them. When he hits a certain spot in the forest, he feels something is off. Suddenly, a net trap closes on him and pulls him up, but he cuts himself loose and drops down. Before he can do anything, a guy holds him at gunpoint and accuses him of being a cop. John says he isn't. When the guy doesn't believe him, John attacks him and forces him to drop the weapon. John tries to explain he's looking for his wife, but before he finishes, another guy hits him from behind and knocks him out. On the other side, the cops are getting really close to the gang. Kate tries to scream, but Bennett covers her mouth to shut her up. Later, John wakes up tied to a chair in a shack. There are two guys who think he's a cop there to bust their illegal business. John tells them again he isn't a cop, but they don't buy it. Finally, John pretends to confess and says he's a cop and his partners are right behind him, following a tracking device. The guys freak out. John takes the chance to take one down, jumps and breaks the chair he's tied to, and frees himself. He knocks one guy out and faces the second one. After a brutal fight, he wins and heads back into the woods. Now he has no idea where Rome and the gang are, but he keeps going until he reaches a lake. He sees the gang going into an abandoned cabin with Kate. Inside, the gang notices the power's out. Rome tells Morgan to find a generator. Morgan, who's apparently been watching too many horror movies about psycho slashers in the woods, refuses because he's got a phobia of places like this. The gang mocks him. Eventually, Morgan agrees and goes to find the generator. Once he turns it on, John jumps him from behind. They fight, and Morgan hits John with a bottle, but John kills him with his knife. Rome leaves the cabin to make a call and tells someone to get a car and a boat ready for their escape. Then he sends Bennett to start the boat and check on Morgan since he's taking too long. When Bennett comes out, John attacks him too. After a heavy fight, John wins and kills Bennett. He hides the two bodies under the cabin. Just then, Detective Van Buren arrives and tells John to let the police handle it. John refuses again. Van Buren has no choice but to let John do it his way. John cuts the power to the cabin to distract the gang. This helps Kate escape, but Angela goes after her. The two of them fight, and Kate manages to get the upper hand, but Angela pulls her gun back on her. John jumps through the window into the room with Rome. As they face off, Van Buren walks in and orders Rome to drop his weapon. Then Van Buren asks for the diamonds. Rome doesn't hesitate and suggests that Van Buren should kill John if he wants the diamonds. Surprised, John sees Van Buren pointing his gun at him. Turns out Van Buren is Rome's boss and the one who was on the phone. Van Buren hesitates for a second, and that gives John the opening he needs. He lunges at Van Buren and uses him as a human shield. Rome starts shooting. After all that chaos, Rome manages to escape and meets up with Angela, who still has Kate. To cover their escape, Rome shoots a gas tank and blows up the whole cabin. John barely escapes the flying glass and jumps into the water. When he gets out, a Coast Guard officer tries to bust him. John tries to explain, but the officer won't listen, so John has to take him down, take his boat and gun, and speed off after the criminals. Rome steals Van Buren's car and drives off, but the cops are right on him, so he has to ditch it. Then we see Angela standing on the road. She stops a semi-truck and asks the driver for a lift, but then she just kills him. They take the truck and keep going. John is still on the boat and hears a report on the radio about the truck driver being killed. He remembers the conversation between Rome and the guy and suspects they're headed to Rita Marina. He goes after them. As soon as he gets there, he sees Rome driving the truck. He jumps onto the truck, opens the door, grabs Angela by the neck, and throws her onto the road. She gets hit by an oncoming car and dies instantly. The diamonds spill everywhere. Rome tries to shake John off by driving through wood and shacks, but John hangs on. Eventually, John gets thrown off, and the truck slams into a building and catches fire. When Rome sees the truck is trashed, he jumps out and leaves Kate handcuffed inside. The truck crashes into a building and then into the water. Finally, John and Rome face off. John wins and throws him into the fire. Immediately after, he dives into the water to save Kate. He finds her trapped in the sinking truck, so he dives down and pulls her out. After a lot of trying, Kate starts breathing again. Just when they think they're safe, a burnt-up Rome crawls out of the fire. He tries to strangle John with a chain, but John fights back, grabs the chain, and uses it to snap Rome's neck. After he's finally finished, the cops arrive. John jokes with his wife, "I wish we'd just gone to the beach." They both laugh after getting through the nightmare. And that's the end of our story today. Stay tuned for new videos and recaps. Peace.